Hello, I'm your moderator, Margo Lovett. Let me remind you that we are live on the WomELLE Facebook page, WOM, capital E, capital L, capital L, capital L, Facebook page. WomELLE is hosting the Power of Women's Leadership virtual conference on October 20th and the 21st. Your ticket not only gives you access to both days of the conference, but 30 speakers, Q&A, professional activities, and networking. Today's panelists, the WomELLE cast, are scheduled to speak during this conference. Now let me introduce to everyone Miss Allie Nathaniel. She is an author, coach. She is queen of self-publishing, and her company is eBooks Publishing Services. Leslie Flowers. She's a speaker, author, a performance catalyst, trailblazer for women in business, and Maya Hu Chan. She is an author, leadership expert, one of the top 8 global solution thinkers in the world, and president of Global Leadership Associates. Welcome, ladies. Let's get this conversation started. Leadership in business, in the business world as a whole. What does that look like in 2017? Maya, will you open up this conversation with us, please?
Sure, I'm happy to. Hello, everybody. Now, leadership in the business world as a whole, what does it look like in 2017 and beyond? I have been working with business leaders all over the world over 20 years, and what I see here is that the company, the business are becoming more and more global. What that means is that it's not just the global large corporations that are global, but medium-sized and small companies are now selling their products and providing their services to customers beyond their home countries, and everybody's doing that. Now, they're establishing global operations, they're building global networks, and they're working with global business partners, regardless the size of your company. So it's very exciting. At the same time, it's also very challenging as well. And because the businesses are becoming more global, that they're also working with much more diverse workforce and customer base. So when we talk about diverse, we're talking about multicultural workforce and teams and multi-generations. And people have different backgrounds, different, of course, gender, and different thinking styles. So you have this diverse background of people that you're working with. So that's definitely the trend for the business today.
Go ahead, Leslie.
And I love that, Maya. That's awesome. You know, I work with women, and what I'm noticing is that in 2017, the context is already moving away from the masculine point of view solely into more of a thought leadership style, and the skills that women are bringing to the workplace actually, along with the skills that men already have in the workplace, really benefit the top and bottom line for business. However, there is a big road, big challenge, and that is that women are not heard or listened to, and therefore not valued by men and women business leaders. So what we need to do during this transition is to give women the information required to ask for what they deserve and be paid, and sit at the table, most of all, be heard and listened to.
Absolutely. Allie, chime in on this, please.
Sure. So thank you so much for, sharing your wisdom. I'm Allie, and I'm working with mostly women. I help them use their story and publish a book, and therefore make a difference. And what I notice is that still in 2017, this is a men's world. And like, Leslie said, we are not being heard. We are there, we are working, we own small businesses, but we're not being heard. So for me, what I work with women usually is to try to eliminate the discouragement and victim patterns that we all carry. You know, it's in our genes for so many years. So eliminate that and, you know, fight back and make this world ours with men. I'm not against men, together.
Absolutely. And, you know, I think that to add to both of you, Ellie and Leslie said, I think women have a very unique ability to work with people with diverse backgrounds. I have seen a lot of leaders who are really very successful, and they're women leaders. And they're much more engaging with their coworkers, with their team, and they're very good at listening. And they're also stepping up and taking notice of the global landscape and make their voice heard. So yes, I think we still have a long way to go. There are things that are still holding women back in many different fronts, but I think women are making progress. That we wanted to kind of recognize that what are some of the things that's holding us back to be successful global leaders, and then address these issues, and then to really kind of be a global leader that can be recognized for our ability and for our potential. And that's why I think that for the conference, I'm going to be talking about there's 7 steps that women can do to build your global leadership presence. There are 7 very, very practical, specific things that you can do to be successful in this global work business environment.
This is a very exciting conversation.
Yeah, I'll be excited to hear that. Excuse me for interrupting, Margo. And I actually have learned from my clients and a number of years exactly what it is that's missing for women. Yes. And I will tell you what it is. It is we're missing vital information, because the context of business success is made up of inherent behavioral skills that men do without thinking. And that is what it is. And we've only been in business for a few decades, bona fide, and we come in not having a clue and actually clashing. With, yes, and there are the things. I know what's happening. I've got to turn on. You have to turn it. Okay, someone's face is on. The volume. Mine is okay. I just checked it. So the thing that's missing, and women love learning. We're the happiest when we're learning. Learning is the miracle grow for human beings. And that is what's missing for women. In my work, I have 12,000 hours teaching the principles of success to women in 21st century nuggets so that they can absorb it and practice, and absorb it and practice. So that then allows them to become more confident. And so really, you know, and then when leaders don't listen to us, it deflates our confidence. So like you're saying, Maya, the first thing we have to do, in my view, is to be the chameleon in networking and in business. And speaking to you, Maya, isn't it true that most global businesses have a woman who is highly intuitive at the boardroom table these days? Yeah, we definitely have seen some increase, some progress in a sort of a pocket of success and excellence, but we still have a long way to go in terms of the women representation in the ballroom and also in the senior executive, the C-suites. So I think that we definitely are not quite there yet. We still have a long way to go, but I think that this awareness of women must step up and recognize that what is missing and then really address some of the issues that we can be missing, and then to continue to step up and show up and lean in.
right? Like Sheryl Sandberg said. So absolutely, I think we're making progress, and we're going to continue to do so.
Yeah,
I
I
have a
want
question,
to.
ladies. Go ahead,
Okay,
Allie.
Margo.
Go ahead.
Just want to add that, working with women on a daily basis, it seems like women sometimes refuse to take full responsibility for their own lives. And that's where they need most help. That's where I come in, and you come in, and all of us come in to help other women. But once you fully take responsibility for your life, for your business, then you need to work on your mindset. You need to shift your mindset. That's what I'm going to talk about in the presentation at the conference. But I feel like take responsibility for your own life first is what's going to help you become a better leader.
Oh my goodness.
Good.
I love this conversation. I really, really do. And so this takes me to the next question. Leadership versus boss. We all hear about the boss network and yada, yada, yada. Is there a difference? And are we stumbling over this? Are they terms? Are they states of mind? Are we just mashing up words? What's going on here with leadership versus boss?
Well, when I saw this question, I laughed because yes, I think that we often think about aren't they the same thing? Being a boss versus being a leader. But if you really think deeper, they're very different. And so, from my experience working with leaders, that what I see is that when somebody is a boss, usually imply that somebody has this title or has that position, has that status, has the authority to call all the shots, or they make decisions and they have the authority to give orders. So they have this position power over people. But then leader is different. Leader is somebody that the leader by definition is that they actually have followers. Okay, so leader is somebody who may or may not have the title or may not have the actual authority, but they have people following them. And people look up to them for guidance, for directions, and they set examples. But good leaders set good examples. Of course, bad leaders can give poor examples. So we have to be careful. And then good leaders also inspire people, inspire their followers, so they can influence without authority. Now, that also kind of get me to think another word is called bossy. So we hear this term bossy, and a lot of time they use that to describe women. Okay, you rarely hear this adjective being used to describe man. And that is the gender stereotype, that women is being called bossy or men's being called assertive, or they have executive presence. So I think for women to continue to fight that stereotype and be proud that you're bossy. It's not a bad thing, that you need to stand up for who you are and do the right thing. And so I'd love to hear from Allie and Leslie what you think.
Sure. First of all, I love the question because it's a really tough one. My initial response was that every boss has to be a leader. And then I thought about it, and I remembered all the bosses that I had in the past that were not good leaders in any way, and that's why I left eventually. For me, a leader is someone who leads by example. So it's not like you're bossing someone, you're not telling them what to do. And that's something we more often see men doing. Even in the household, they're going to tell the kids what to do. They're not going to ask them. And women are going to lead by example. So that's a big one for me, leading by example or by commanding, and also motivating someone or just telling them what to do. So a leader for me has to, show example and motivate their employees or whatever they lead. It depends, but it's not about giving commands.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah. And I could add to this conversation. This is really colorful because we all have unique perspectives on this question. So for me, a leader will delegate to staff and allow staff to stumble and fall and grow and give accolades to a staff, whereas a boss will probably do a lot of it himself because he does it better or she does it better and doesn't want to take the time to delegate. You can be both. You could be a boss and a leader. And as Maya said, you could be just the boss and not have a leadership role, or the reverse. Now, a boss who is not a leader will find himself out of, or herself, interesting how I keep saying him, will find himself out of work. Whereas a leader will always find work because of that ability, that generosity, that ability to delegate. A leader is loved. A boss, not so much. And I can give you a quick example of a young man who took over as boss because the leader boss before left. He was not a leader. He was a boss. And he was caught lying and cheating and being out of integrity. And this was in corporate, and what I found so fascinating is HR knew all about it and never did anything about it. So it was rather a bit of a good old boys network that I was in corporate 45 years and personal development in 20. So I have felt the brunt, but it's not only from men. I remember years ago when I was promoted, and we all the people that had direct reports had window offices in the new building, all except me. And I went to my boss, who was a C-level and a woman, and brought this up to her, and she hadn't noticed. And of course she made the change, but even she didn't hear or didn't check that I was the only one and the only woman who didn't get the window office, and I had direct reports. So it's men and women leaders that need to be educated, and they need to know about this so that they can purposely turn on their listening and look past all the foolish physical mistakes we make in networking that has you not listen to us, such as jingling jewelry and crying and telling the whole story and wiggling and jiggling. These things turn people's listening off. And once women get it, there's a little system to knock out each one of those, and then you start noticing that people are listening to you. It's amazing. So I prefer to be a leader than a boss personally, because I would rather delegate to you and allow you to stub your toe, because we learn through failure. That's me.
Yeah.
This is
Good.
true.
That's true. And I think that you had a good point there, Leslie, said sometimes that, people may or may not notice that the men or women are not being treated the same way, but then they seem to sort of take it for granted. But then, well, as a woman, that we need to step up and actually say something. I think one of the things that's holding women back in many cases is that they sort of take it and they don't say anything. And they're just sort of standing in the shadow, and they say, oh, it's okay, I don't want to cause any problems. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes they're waiting for the invitation or waiting for permission to do something. Mm-hmm. But that's not going to work anymore in 2017.
The best example of this that I can give you and your listeners, our listeners, is if you as a woman, and a man too, have been in a meeting of any sort where there are men and women and people are sharing ideas, and you say something, and then we move on and someone else says something, and the gentleman says exactly what you said, and everybody goes, yeah, let's do it. And you lean over to your girlfriend and say, aren't those my exact words? That is social proof that without even knowing it, people are not listening to women. Therefore, they can't get their value. Therefore, we don't feel the value. We're not appreciated for our value.
So I just thank you, Leslie. I love that you said it, because that example I hear from, every woman that ever worked in corporate America, or, any other company out there. But this is exactly what we need to do, to be aware of that. Once you have the awareness, it's easier to point and to make the change that we need to make. It's our responsibility.
Yes, yes.
It is. It is. And once you know these things, it's even more responsible. And to your point before, Allie, you may want something as a woman business owner, but the reality is only about 3 out of 100 ever do anything with any real value. And the reason is because we're not willing to do what it takes.
Mm-hmm.
So wanting something and being willing to step up to the plate and do what it takes is two very different things. And that's where we step up as thought leaders.
Yeah.
To be part of that 3%, to actually take the action, to be willing to step through. And as Maya says, we then become the models. A leader actually models behavior. Thank you, Allie, for that. That was good.
That's true. Thank you. Thank you all for sharing all that.
Great conversation. Allie, you are in the digital book world. Now, I think last time I checked, it was dominated by men. How does that affect you personally? How do you deal with that?
So actually, I want to maybe take it to a different direction. I'm not sure about the people who owns the companies of digital publishing, but I have to tell you that more and more women are publishing books. That's just amazing, because that's a great way publisher. We all know female authors that had to change their name just to get a deal from a publisher. So that doesn't happen anymore these days, because it doesn't matter if you have the will, if you take responsibility for your life, for your dream, you can go ahead and do that. You can either do it by yourself or ask for help. I did it by myself, but today I'm helping other women who they really want to do that, but they just don't know how. So that's where the leadership for their own lives comes in. They reach out for help. And I think that's a strength, to reach out for help. But, I'm not feeling that I'm competing against men, because the world has changed. They're not hiring me anymore for their company. It's my company, and I can reach out for women that are not feeling comfortable with men. So I think today we're so much better than we used to be even 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Leslie, can I ask you a question? As far as you are a outspoken woman and you are a trailblazer, my question is this: when a person comes to you, they want to move forward with their business, but they don't have the grit nor the gumption that you have. How do you build them up to be the leader that you know that they can be?
That's not on the list. Well, first of all, I want to find out. I have coaching skills. I don't call myself a coach, but I use coaching skills. So I really want to find out, what is it they want, right? What is it that they're looking to gain, and specifically what they want, how much they want it. And again, are they willing? And sometimes I'll ask them on a scale of 1 to 10, which I learned from someone else, how important is this to you to do it, right? And if it's anything below a 7, they're not ready, right? And they would not be my ideal client. So it's an inquiry, right, into what you want. Are you ready? Do you believe you're ready? Are you willing to do what it takes? Are you willing to be coachable? And that is the distinction. If you are, we move forward. And if you're not, all it means is that you're not ready yet. That's all. And it's okay. There's nothing wrong with not being ready. It's determining what you want and why you want it and how much you want it. And if you're kind of wishy-washy about it, you will not achieve whatever it is. If you want to achieve anything at all, you have to have a very clear purpose about what it is you want in your mind's eye. And you have to be in love with it, like the 16-year-old crush you had when you were 16, and you saw his face in the mashed potatoes, and you knew he was walking down the hall before he even got to the door because all the little hairs on your arm raised. You got to have that kind of love for what it is you want, and then that will propel you through the fear, the obstacles, the naysayers. But without those two things, you won't achieve. And how we grow in confidence. Confidence is a muscle that grows in direct proportion to its use. And the way you exercise and grow the muscle of confidence is through achievement. So as long as you've got a clear idea, and for women, one goal at a time, please. Okay, men shine one goal at a time, and I do it by the quarter. So to answer your question, it's really determining for yourself. And to Allie's point, you have to be 100% responsible because everything you have in your life, you sourced.
Got you.
Whether you understand how that works or not, your results, your bank account, everything you have, you caused. If you want something different, you got to learn some new stuff.
I tell you, that's good information. Excellent, excellent.
Thank you.
Maya, we listened to Leslie, and she makes a good point. You have to get, if you feel it like you had that 16-year-old crush, is that what, I read your article, Maya, on 6 steps for boosting your executive presence. Excellent article. Now, is that executive presence, is that something that all of us entrepreneurs must have?
Well, I think that I completely agree with Leslie and Allie that I think we wanted to have that passion, that drive, that the conviction to say, this is what I really want. And then you go for it, right? And nothing can stop you. So I think that that's something that I think for women or for anyone actually in that matter, that if you want to be successful in business, in life, that you have to believe this is the purpose. And why am I here? And why do I want to do this? And this is something that I'm willing to do. And that you have this strong drive to want to achieve. And I think that we, as a woman, that very often we would come up with, sometimes different reasons to say why this cannot be done. But then it's really important to have that, to really be aware of, listen to that voice, and continue to kind of enhance your self-confidence, and then continue to do what you believe is the right thing to do, and that's your calling. Yeah, and then really kind of get to know yourself, listen to yourself, and look at yourself, and to kind of be aware that how other people perceive you. And so all of those information can help a woman leader to become successful because they're very clear about how they're being perceived as a leader. And they also know that who they are, and they're comfortable within their own skin. And then just stay positive. Continue to drive and towards what they believe is the right thing. I think take full responsibility, and then have that dedication, and then to be that, to really kind of continue to strengthen your skills, and then build up your presence. I think that at the end of the day, people are going to believe in you because of who you are and not because some other external factors. So I think that's really helpful. And then another thing to being a strong leader, I have learned from working with leaders around the world, men and women, is that you have to be adaptable. Because adaptability is the number one traits that for global leaders. So you know, be open to new ideas, and you're flexible in your leadership approach, and you're willing to change. Know that what's not working for you and do something different. Be willing to engage people, you know, and have a clear vision and continue to communicate in a compelling way. So not to, like one of my a longtime client, and she's a global leader, is a good friend, Patty McKay, once told me. She said, think of yourself like a dimmer switch. Okay, you know, in our house, we have those dimmer switch that sometimes we want it to be really bright. Sometimes we want to tone it down. And then we want it to be a little bit darker. And so be flexible, can work with a range that's appropriate to the situation. And then to be an adaptable leader so that you can not just survive, but thrive in any situations.
Let me thank you three ladies. Only WomELLE would be able to bring Maya Hu Chan, Allie Nathaniel, and Leslie Flowers together. You all have poured into this audience. I want everyone to know that this was a great conversation. I thank you ladies so very much. October 20th and the 21st. You listeners, all of us, we have an opportunity to glean more wisdom and insight from these ladies. Go to www.womelle.com for all information and to purchase your ticket. I call it your passport to growth. I'm Margo Lovett. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, panelists, again, and thank you, everyone, for taking time to listen and share this great conversation. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.